Write from your heart. Don't let anyone tell you the market is too competitive. I mean, I was initially embarrassed, like, how can I, as a professional, put my life out there for people that might roll their eyes and think this is crazy talk? But I did it anyway. And it's amazing how many people have contacted me and shared stories. You know, they've told me stories about things that happened to them that they haven't even told their best friends or their spouses, but they feel comfortable in sharing it with me. And why? I think it's because I wrote from my heart. So don't tell anyone the market's too competitive. You do what's in your heart. Now, a lot of people are self-published this day, and that's fine. That makes perfect sense because there's print on demand. You no longer have to, store books everywhere. But if you're publishing on your own, make sure that you do contract for essential services, editing, interior design, and your exterior book covering. You don't want your book to look like it's self-published. It's okay to self-publish, but don't let your material announce that. Also, in addition to having an ebook and a print book, consider an audio book. I've used Audible for both my books, and I've been, Paul, so amazed at the popularity. People love Audible. For the first year of publishing The Reluctant Messenger, my Audible books sold more than my ebooks, paperback, and hardcover books combined. And it's an easy process. You could, record it yourself, but you need the right equipment. But all you have to do is pick out a professional. Narrators audition for you on ACX, which is Audible site. They send you audio clips, and once you've selected the narrator you want, they do all the work. You just sit back until it's recorded. Audible sets the royalties based on the length of the narrated book. You don't have any choice in that. You can choose either to split the royalties with the narrator, and if you do that, it doesn't cost you a penny up front. Or if you choose to pay the narrator up front, then you get the full royalties that are earned. But it's an easy process. And for those authors out there, you won't be sorry you did it. It's great. So write from your heart, go from your heart, and just let your heart lead the way.
I think you made a great choice with your narrator. I thought she was very good.
Good. Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed her. I'm so glad that you were able to listen to the Audible edition. It's just, it's so easy to do, and it's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say to new writers is first of all, the first thing I would say, I don't know that I would say this to them. I would answer a question if they ask me, because this, I don't want to rain on their parade, but I don't think most new writers realize how the financial model works with publishing a book. First of all, the chances of a publishing company picking you up, you might as well go buy a lottery ticket, because unless you're famous, unless your name is Barack Obama or Oprah Winfrey or something like that, they're not going to knock on your door, tear down your door to get you to write a book for them. Now, there are some, you can submit books to publishers, but again, the chances of, it's sort of like new parents who send pictures of their babies to Gerber and say, this would be a perfect person for your commercials. The chances of that happening are slim and none, unless your cousin is the CEO of Gerber or something like that. So, and I'm being a little silly, but so I would just let writers know that it's very, very unlikely that they will be picked up by one of the publishing companies. And so they need to understand how self-publishing works. if they just want to get their book out there. Now, if they have their mind set on getting picked up from a publishing company, there's nothing I can tell them about self-publishing. But if they just want to get their book published, self-publishing is a route that they can go. And then they need to understand that of people who self-publish, the ones who make money are a tiny, tiny percentage.
Okay.
I mean, a tiny percentage. So I just think that new writers need to come at writing realistically. If you're writing to make money, that's the wrong reason. That's the one thing. And then the other thing, just in terms of writing advice, I would say to a new writer, make sure that you are passionate about your subject matter. And because if you're passionate about your subject matter, you're going to get your best work out, and nothing's going to stop you. People talk about all the time, how do you find time to write? Well, if you're passionate about your subject, you're going to find time to write. You're going to make time to write. But somebody who writes a book about something that they're not passionate about, I don't know. To me, that's a lot like going to a 9-to-5 job. I mean, that's I don't know if that made sense, but that's my biggest advice is find something you're passionate about. My 3 books, it was very easy for me to write the 3 books because I was passionate about all 3 subjects. The first book, I mean, this sounds dramatic, overly dramatic, but I sometimes like to say it saved my life. And so I was driven, I was passionate. But even the second book, even though it had, nothing to do with the first book, I was very passionate about it because I'm passionate about cruising and what have you. So, just got to find something that you're passionate about, and you will do whatever it needs, whatever it takes to make that a reality.
Actually, I also noticed on The Joy of Cruising, I think your research was extremely good. You found all different niches and all different people, even some that we ourselves knew. I was really impressed that you must have put a lot of work into the research.
Yeah, and I'm one of those guys who I keep an iPad with me on every waking hour. And even when we drive, my wife drives, and so I get a chance to just bury myself in my iPad, and so I'm constantly that's what when you write nonfiction, you constantly have to research, because these people I interview a lot of times they say things, and I take it, you just can't take everything they say. Their opinion is fine, or their experiences are fine, but if something is stated as a fact, you just can't, you just have to make sure that you do your research. So I had one person I interviewed, for instance, and I can't remember the locale, but the country was Uruguay. She said she kept referencing a certain place in Uruguay. And I'm glad I didn't just take that, because it turns out the place she was referencing is in Argentina.
Okay.
So on all of these folks, they tell me their stories and their anecdotes, but then I go back and I make sure that factually, I'm not just repeating what they say, because they may have a fact or two wrong.
I also noticed that in a lot of the stories you had interjected things into the story. You'd say, have a comment or say something positive or interesting to complement what they were saying.
Yeah. I was trying. I'm trying not to make it just a clinical just a nonfiction, just a facts man book.
Yeah.
I'm trying, I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't know if every time my stories are appreciated, like and I do the same thing in the current book, many times out of the blue, because of something that the subject says or talks about, I'll interject something about my grandkids, just to humanize, the story, just to make it relatable. So, for instance, I just did a story about a blogger. She's from UK, and I get photos from people and to put in the book. And so she had one photo of her and her significant other getting in a helicopter, because they went on a tour above a volcano in Hawaii. And she said that they had them remove the doors. I guess that's an option. They had them remove the doors of the helicopter so they can feel the heat from the volcano. And so I wrote that in the book, but then I put in parentheses some corny comment like no thanks for me, please, or something like that. I didn't have to put that in there. They weren't, what the story's not about me, it was about them. But I just thought I'd throw that in. So I try to interject a little bit of myself in their stories. Because again, I don't want this to read just like a dry nonfiction.
In terms of getting it published, I did send out some query letters, but I didn't get any responses, or I got one response and it didn't go further. So I always believe that if you want to publish a book, now is the time to publish it, because self-publishing is as easy as possible. If you have an idea, if you have something you want to write about, write it. But you must invest in two things, which is a good editor, very important, and somebody to take care of the graphic side of things. So whether it's your cover, whether it's your promotions, because if you're self-publishing, then you're also self-promoting, you're also self-marketing. So it becomes like a proprietor, it becomes like your own kind of work, your own business. And that's the way to go about it. We have all the tools available now you can make your own promo, you can make your own trailer, you can do everything by yourself. You don't need to hire professionals for that, but it's very good to get a professional editor. And Twitter, I found my first editor, I found, I sent out chapters to 5 editors, and I waited to see who sends the best feedback and who sends what kind of feedback. And that's, I based it on a few things. I based it on speed. I based it on how frank and upfront they were. You want somebody to challenge you, and based it on a few things in my head. And I went with the one, and she's the one who's doing all 3. And then you need somebody to format your book, and you need somebody to do all the graphics, because as much as they say, don't judge a book by its cover, but a cover is important.
Yes, I think so too.
A cover is important, and it should reflect what you want it to reflect. And it should also you should also speak to somebody who can give you the expertise and advice that you need.
How did this book become an Amazon #1 bestseller? Did it was something you did, or does Amazon help you with that? Or
so what happens with Amazon is that it works on the number of sales, daily sales. So if you achieve a certain number on a particular day in a particular time window, your book trends at #1 for that particular time. So I was doing a lot of the marketing. I was doing ads on Instagram, on Facebook. There was a lot of buzz created with friends, family, and the community in Dubai, in Mumbai, and in Melbourne. So I think that whole push, that whole surge got it that status. I think it was on that one particular day that a lot of people must have gone and bought the ebook. And I would check in on the page every day to see so in three categories. In two, it was number one, and in one, it was number three, that it came in the top three, and that was really great news, and helped with the book sales, and became even more of an advertising and marketing pitch.
That's incredible for your first book.
Yeah. I also, I mean, it's not like a it's not like a New York Times bestseller, because that looks at a book performance over a week. This could be over an hour or over like 6 hours in the day, but I was very, very chuffed, and it was incredible for the first book, and for a first time author. So yeah, let's see where book 2 takes us. Let's see how book 2 does now.
And you said that will be available in about 2 weeks?
I'm doing the title reveal next week. So because I love movies, I like to promote my book just like a movie. So there will be a title reveal next week. I have sent you the title reveal and the trailer for the first one. So what I'm doing between the title reveal and the trailer for this one, I'm making a trailer for this as well, is that I worked with a sketch artist, and I told her how I envisioned the 7 main characters of the book. And she has drawn sketches. So I'm going to introduce the readers to each of the characters with a quote and a sketch of their face, so people can actually put, a face to the name, so to speak.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm going to share the trailer of the book. Then I'm going to do a cover reveal, and then I'm going to release the book.
Books is a different thing. Books is kind of harder than movies, if you ask me, because anyone can publish a book now. You could self-publish. But to me, that's meaningless. Self-publishing is meaningless because, well, when I wrote my memoir, I had no anticipation or desire for it to be made into a movie. However, with like Chapel Street, I wanted it to be made into a movie. So, and I self-published it, the chances of being made into a movie would have gone down 95%, because people in Hollywood, movie producers, are not impressed by self-published books, only books that are done by publishers. Because everyone wants stuff to be curated. No one wants to read garbage. So they always that's why agents are so important, because like, well, he's an agent, he would have weeded out the bad stuff. So even if this is bad, it's good quality bad, and so for books, it's difficult because you're up against everyone else who's self-publishing. Movies, are hard, in a sense, fewer people are writing them, a lot are. And I give a lot of advice on how to write movies on my blog, SeanPaulMurphyville.blogspot.com. And I have writing tips. I think I have like 20 something of them specifically about how the movie business. Some of them are more about writing, and a lot of them are about, how to trust people, which has always been my problem, being too trusting in the movie business. And my advice to anyone in the movie business is, don't do anything for free. Okay. Because if it's a real project, if this person's telling you they've got the money to make this movie, but they want you to write something for free, they don't have the money to make it. Okay. Because if they were serious, they'd have the money to pay you. So always, I think the union minimum is $76,000 now. And you may not ask them if it's an independent producer and you're not in the union, you're just a normal writer. You're not going to ask this guy for $76,000, but you can say, yeah, I'll write it. How about $10,000 up front? And if they're wanting to write a movie that's going to cost millions of dollars to make, and they can't pay you $10,000 up front, walk away. They're not serious about, if you're serious about your craft and your writing, then, you got to expect, to have the equal commitment from them, which means giving you money. Them having the money. If they're producing something, they need the money. They need to give you some of it. And other than that, the main thing to do is just keep writing. Read all the books, go to all the movies you can. You have to, if you're writing horror movies, see every horror movie. If you're writing faith-based films, see every faith-based film. If you're seeing comedies, see every comedy. There aren't many of them now anymore. You know, people are afraid to write them. You know, so, you know, if you're writing an action movie, see every action film. And keep writing. There's an excellent podcast for screenwriting called Script Notes by Craig Mason and John August, two like really top Hollywood screenwriters. I always recommend that. You know, it's a fabulous podcast, the best on screenwriting.
And you're a teacher.
Also, too, I am my wife threw in, I teach screenwriting at Towson University. Only one section. I'm off this semester because enrollment is down because of COVID. You know, I did teach virtually last semester, and I think it was it was awkward a bit when we made the shift. But I think ultimately, because I felt guilty that the students weren't getting the in-class thing, I devoted more time to them and their work. And I think it really helped them. And I think they all became better writers as a result. You know, I think the grades of my class, you know, together, if you look on it on an average, was higher than previous classes. So I had more time to give them.
That'd be interesting for the students to have someone like you with that much experience teaching them, that much positive experience. Well,
that's why they brought me in. They want, you know, because I'm an alumnus, but they do want to be able to show the parents that there are people who have gone through this program that actually make a living,
right?
You know, who are actually out there, and that it is possible. And we had another great alumnus from the program too, a guy, Mike Flanagan, who is, he made, recently did the sequel to a Stephen King's The Shining called Dr. Sleep. He directed that, wrote and directed that. And he also did The Haunting of Hill House, the Netflix series. And he's another Towson alumnus too.
Oh, that's incredible. That's a big school. It's about 20,000 enrollment.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe 25.
Okay.
You know, so it's a big school. There's very limited parking. Just when I started teaching, they took away the faculty parking lot closest to where my class is to build a new science building. And I'm just sitting there thinking, what are their priorities?
That's incredible.
You know,
oh.
They're making me walk just so that they can teach kids science.
Well, science might become important one of these days. You never know.
No, I don't think so. Just kidding.
Okay. And so that school's, you're about 60 miles from Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, I'd say that, about 60 miles.
You're in a great location.
Yeah, it's well, you know, I actually work most of the time in DC except when I'm on COVID. I want to thank you for actually reading my book, you know, and thank you for inviting me onto this. I keep calling them podcasts, but this is a video cast. This was a great experience, because a lot of times you talk to people and they, you know, and they haven't seen the movies or read the books. So, you know, I'm glad you took the time to do that. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to be here. You know, when there are so many people in the world doing so many things, you know, there's any number of writers you could have brought on.